The other day I asked myself, if I had all the time in the world and all the budget in the world, how would I enjoy my chicken noodle soup? And today, we're going to make my ultimate chicken noodle soup. It's definitely not how I would normally make it at home. For me, a good chicken noodle soup means some very tasty chicken and some very good noodles. And that's it. And I want to taste the chicken, not anything else. Anything else that goes into the dish should be there to enhance the taste of the chicken. Today, we have a beautiful, beautiful Poulet de Racan, which is one of my favorite French birds. Now, to help the soup to have this wonderful thickness that you normally associate with a good chicken broth, we're gonna enlist the help of about 6-7 chicken wings. They have one of the best gelatin to price ratio. So if you ever want a thick chicken soup, just add in a bunch of chicken wings and that'll change the game. To help us enhance the flavors, but not to add anything, we're going to make a kelp dashi, just to bring in some monosodium glutamate, some MSG, some extra umami. We'll add a tiny bit of scallion and ginger, and 2 extra and extremely unconventional ingredients, but hear me out. First, we have Sichuan peppercorn. I know that's something you normally associate with very numbing flavors. And yes, when they're raw, they are. But when they've been given an extensive cooking time, they actually add just this hint of complexity that you cannot pinpoint, but you would miss it if they were not there. Another optional ingredient is coriander. Again, when raw, extremely distinctive, extremely strong. But when cooked and wilted, adds so much depth, and I promise you, even if you don't like coriander, you're not going to feel it. But you would feel that this chicken broth is somehow slightly better, but I can't say why. All right, I think that's enough talk. Let's make the dashi. Very simple. We're gonna use a pressure cooker. And whenever I have the luxury of time, I always like to make the broth a day ahead. I know that would piss off many Chinese grandma, but overnight in the fridge makes skimming of the fat and the clarification of the broth 10 times easier. Very simple, pressure cooker, kombu goes in, water, and we bring this to a boil. Once we've hit a bare simmer, we fish out the kombu. Thank them for their service. We can make a salad out of it with some sesame oil, some ponzu. And now, the scallion, ginger, peppercorn, trust me on this, and coriander. Make sure you keep the stalks. Chicken wings can also go in. And we lower the heat slightly to medium high. Now, the racan. Because it's a pressure cooker, you can throw the whole thing in. But what I like to do is to take it apart so that it cooks quicker, and we save the breast for tomorrow. Chicken legs, again, very gelatin heavy, perfect for stalk, as long as you don't find the appearance off-putting. For the breast, we're gonna take the skin off anyway, so it doesn't really matter how you cut it. Same with the oyster here. If you want a good video on how to take apart a chicken, watch Mr. Jacques Pepin. He's the best. My friend Damian is not bad either. I'm not even gonna bother with the wishbone because we're gonna shred the breast. 1 breast plus tenderloin. Just break them so they fit better. If you're doing it on the same day, I would remove the whole skin, by the way, so that you don't have to waste time skimming off the fat. But because we're gonna leave it in the fridge overnight, I want to keep the chicken fat. The chicken breasts, they go into the fridge overnight on top of some nori. Trust me, you'll thank me later. What's going to happen is that the nori would start drawing out some moisture from the chicken. The moisture would then soften the nori. In essence, we're then marinating the flesh side of the nori with a bit of natural salt and with nature's MSG. Optional, of course, but why not? We have everything in our pressure cooker. All we need to do is we first bring it to a boil. Many recipes, including some of my own, calls for the skimming of the so-called scum that floats to the top. That's just the protein and the myoglobin. They're actually completely harmless. Yes, if you want a clear broth in a shorter period of time, it's beneficial to do that. But in a pressure cooker situation, I never bother. I always like to first bring it to the boil before I add the pressure. Trust your manual, not me. All right, once we're boiling, lid on. We bring this to pressure and we cook it for at least an hour. If you don't have a pressure cooker at home, you can do the same but cook it for 3-4 hours. After that, we'll let the pressure come down naturally and we'll pass everything through a sieve and save the liquid in the fridge. You can do whatever you fancy with the remainder of the beautiful chicken. I'll see you tomorrow. Alright, after one day, this is what you'll end up with. Of course, the yield is slightly larger, but just for the purpose of demonstration, this is the largest glass bowl I could find. As you can see, the fat solidified and floated to the top, and you have a very, very clear and clean broth underneath. So, what we're gonna do is that we'll separate the fat from the broth, and this is what we'll cook our aromatic vegetables with. We have our beautiful chicken breast fillet. By the way, yesterday I forgot to salt them, so I did that off camera. This will simply cook sous vide in the oven at a higher temperature than normal because we want to shred them. So at 67 degrees Celsius. So this goes in for at least 45 minutes. And now we can make our noodles. Very simple. We have 300 grams of flour. Today I'm using 00 flour, high protein flour. That will give you a bit more of a bite and a chew. And to that, we have 150 grams of liquid. In this case, we have our chicken broth with oil skimmed off. We'll add the white of 1 egg. It's very important to know that egg white and egg yolk have completely opposite effect on the dough. The protein content of the egg whites would make the dough firmer, a bit more chewy, whereas the fat content of the yolk would slow down the enzymes, making the dough a bit softer. So, be aware of the reasons why you're adding certain ingredients. Now, to mix, I know it's not very chefy. I like to use a large pot for the initial stage of the dough so that you don't dirty everything. 300 grams of 00 flour, they go in, and we add unsalted chicken broth with the fat skimmed off and the egg white. Yeah, I know this looks amateur, and I am, but it's also just so much cleaner and nicer. As you can see, they start to stick together more and more. We have very strong gluten strands. Now, as you can see, from the stickiness, the web of gluten has formed. What we then need to do is to turn what looks like a spider web, stretch them out so that they're all pointing to the same direction, giving you the most desirable bite and texture. Now, there are many ways to do that. You can keep stretching it, keep kneading it, or we can let it rest and let the enzymes within the flour to do the job for us, breaking down the longer strands into shorter strands. And this would make the stretching much easier. Now, there are a few things that slows down this process. One is fat. And that's why we only added the egg white, not the yolk, because the yolk contains a lot of natural fat. 2, salt. That's why when we cook the chicken stock, we have not seasoned at all. So now we cover this beauty and we'll let the enzymes work their magic for 30 minutes while we finish our chicken broth. The garnishes are very simple. I have chosen 2 ingredients that would add some natural sweetness and complexity to the taste of chicken without overpowering them. For the Chinese cabbage, very simple. We separate the individual leaves. Again, this is not how I normally cook Chinese cabbage, but we're assuming we have the luxury of time and budget, so you definitely don't need to do this. Now, for the white parts, you just want to slice them relatively thin. This is one of the major ingredients in wonton noodle soup. Now, for the leaves, we shred them and add them in the very last minute. This is a trick I stole from my friend Tekka. Perfect. And we have the scallion. For me, scallion is a beautiful crossbreed between onion and chive. You have the garnish that is chive-like, and you have the white bit that is like a premium version of an onion. Now, today, I'm only using a wok because it's the only thing that's big enough. You definitely do not have to. Medium-high heat to start. We add a wonderful, wonderful chicken fat. Remember, the actual broth now has no fat, so you can afford to be slightly more generous than usual. First, the scallion whites. The hot chicken fat is evaporating the water content of the scallion white, concentrating the flavors, the sweetness, the complexity. Now, once you can no longer smell that onion-like harshness from the scallion whites, the white part of the Chinese cabbage, they go in. Now, to help them release the moisture and to season for the first time, we're going to add a very generous amount of salt. And as you can see, the evaporation, the steam, it has subsided a bit. That means most of the water content has been evaporated. At this point, we're going to add the world's smallest dash of soy sauce, just to give it some extra umami. Now, we can add our chicken broth. And we leave it to simmer at medium heat until we're ready to cook the noodles. We take out our sous vide chicken breast and we leave it here to cool down. And now, we deal with our dough. As you can see, while the Chinese cabbage shrunk in half, the dough almost doubled in size. We bid a temporary farewell to our chopping board, grab our beautiful dough from the pot. As you can see, now when you press it down, it's still elastic, but it's not going back immediately. So you know the enzyme has done its magic. Now, all we need is Now, all we need is a rolling pin. First, we press it down, and we can start rolling. So what we're doing now is we're pushing the protein strands to go one direction, to optimize for the perfect bite, the perfect chewiness. Once we have the desired thinness or thickness of the noodle, we grab our rolling pin and we roll the whole thing together. And we simply fold it once, fold it twice, 3 times, and one last time. And you make them as thin, as thick as you like. Bear in mind the fact that they will expand slightly once they absorb some of this beautiful broth. And that's it. Go straight into our broth. And you grab a pair of chopsticks to make sure they don't stick together once they hit the broth. Now, given the high protein flour, you want to braise the noodles for about 5 to 6 minutes to give time for them to absorb more of the broth. And in the meantime, we'll also add the shredded leaves. Very quickly, on this not so clean surface, we will shred the chicken breast. The skin has done its job protecting the breast. Same goes the nori. And you simply follow the fibers of the bird. And you go as thick, as thin as you like. Now, the shredded chicken, they go in. And now, we can plate. Beautiful. Oh. Everything has cooked down so well. The cabbage, the noodles, the shredded chicken, the wilted cabbage leaves. One will even struggle to identify one from the other. We have the scallion green for garnish, for a bit of freshness and color. And of course, nothing is an ultimate recipe if we didn't have shichime togarashi. And my ultimate chicken noodle soup should be enjoyed with the family. This is my ultimate chicken noodle soup. I really hope you enjoy.